My older sister, whom I'll call Emma, now 30, falsely accused me of destroying her marriage, leading our family to abandon me on my wedding day. Years later, the truth unraveled, exposing her deceit. I'm 27 now, female, and have been happily married for 3 years. My relationship with Emma was always strained, but it took a toxic turn when she set out to sabotage my wedding. At the time, Emma was navigating a divorce. Her marriage was crumbling because her husband was firm about not wanting children, while Emma had always dreamed of motherhood. I'm not here to debate whether that's a valid reason to end a marriage. It certainly can be. But Emma knew his stance before they married. He'd been clear about not wanting kids, yet she went ahead, believing she could change his mind. Their relationship was on its last legs when I was planning my wedding. My fiancé, now my husband, and I had been together for 4 years and were thrilled to tie the knot. We'd spent months saving, planning, and perfecting every detail. Everything was ready. But Emma took my wedding as a personal affront. It began with subtle digs. She accused me of being insensitive for planning a wedding during her divorce. I brushed it off, as Emma always had a dramatic streak. Growing up, she was the golden child in our parents' eyes, never at fault. I, on the other hand, was often blamed for her troubles. If Emma was upset, the world paused until she was fine. So her complaints about my wedding weren't surprising. I assumed she'd move on. Then my parents got involved. They called and urged me to postpone the wedding. Yes, they genuinely wanted me to delay my big day because Emma was struggling with her divorce. I thought they were joking at first. When I realized they meant it, I refused outright. My fiancé and I had already paid deposits and sent invitations. Why should my milestone be delayed because of Emma's personal issues? Her failing marriage wasn't my fault, and I wasn't going to pause my life for her. My parents called me selfish, insisting family comes first. I told them Emma's divorce had no bearing on my wedding, and she could either support me or stay away. That's when they issued an ultimatum. If I didn't reschedule, they wouldn't attend. It felt like a betrayal of the highest order. I'd always known they favored Emma, but this was a new low. I told them they could make their choice, but I wasn't changing my plans. I thought that would be the end of it. If they chose not to come, fine. I'd have my fiancé, friends, and his family to celebrate with. But Emma wasn't done stirring chaos. She started spreading lies to the rest of the family. At first, it was subtle. She told people I was cruel for celebrating while she was in pain. Some relatives sympathized, but most didn't think it justified boycotting my wedding. So Emma escalated. She began claiming I had a hand in ruining her marriage. She accused me of convincing her husband to leave her, saying I was jealous of her potential motherhood. Let me be clear, I barely knew her husband. We'd had maybe a few brief conversations over the years, none meaningful. The idea that I meddled in their marriage was ludicrous. But Emma was so persuasive, so convincing, that people started believing her. Some family members cut me off without warning. I later learned from a cousin that Emma had claimed I was flaunting my engagement and gloating about driving her husband away. It was all fabricated, but the damage was done before I even knew what was happening. When my wedding day arrived, almost no one from my family showed up. It was devastating. My parents, aunts, uncles, and most cousins were absent. Only a few cousins who didn't buy Emma's story attended. The rest of the guests were my friends, my husband's friends, or his family. The weeks before the ceremony were emotionally exhausting. I considered defending myself, but it felt futile. Emma had already swayed their opinions, and it would be my word against hers. Those who believed her had made their choice. I wasn't going to beg for their trust. Despite everything, the wedding was beautiful. My husband and his family went above and beyond to make me feel cherished. My friends kept me laughing, dancing, and celebrating all night. For a few hours, I almost forgot the empty seats and the family who sided with Emma. But the pain lingered beneath the joy. After the wedding, I cut off Emma and my parents completely. I couldn't forgive them. Emma didn't just skip my wedding, she actively tried to ruin it. And my parents, instead of defending me, enabled her. It's been 3 years, and I haven't spoken to them since. Sometimes I wonder if going no contact was too harsh, but then I recall the pain they caused during what should have been my happiest time. Emma's jealousy and my parents' favoritism turned my wedding into an emotional ordeal. Though I've moved forward, the resentment hasn't fully faded. Now, I've built a life I'm proud of. My husband and I are thriving, and we recently shared exciting news. We're expecting our first child. It should have been pure joy, but Emma and my parents found a way to intrude again. Here's what happened. A few weeks ago, we announced our pregnancy online with a simple photo of us holding a sonogram, captioned with our excitement. We hadn't spoken to Emma or my parents in years, so I didn't think they'd care. But they'd been monitoring my social media, because hours later, my mother called out of the blue. Seeing her name on my phone startled me. She hadn't reached out in over 3 years, not for birthdays, holidays, nothing. Curiosity got the better of me, so I answered. She started with pleasantries, congratulating me on the pregnancy and expressing excitement. But soon, she revealed her true motive, Emma. Apparently, since her divorce, Emma had been trying to conceive, but faced repeated IVF failures. She was recently diagnosed with infertility. I felt a twinge of sympathy. Infertility is heartbreaking, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But then my mom said something outrageous. She and my dad thought my pregnancy could be a way to reconcile with Emma. I was baffled. What did my baby have to do with her? My mom suggested that letting Emma bond with my child could help her cope with her grief. Then she went further, saying it would be good for my baby to have 2 mothers. I was floored. This woman, silent for years, was now asking me to share my unborn child with the sister who sabotaged my wedding. I shut it down immediately, saying I wasn't in contact with Emma and had no intention of involving her in my child's life. My mom accused me of being cruel, saying Emma was struggling and needed family. She claimed I was denying Emma a healing opportunity. I told her I wasn't responsible for Emma's emotions or life choices, and if she and my dad cared about me, they wouldn't have waited until now to reach out. She didn't take it well, calling me cold and saying I was tearing the family apart. I ended the call before it escalated further. In the days that followed, my dad and Emma reached out too. My dad echoed my mom, framing it as a chance to mend the family. He insisted Emma didn't want to replace me as a mother, just be part of the baby's life due to their biological connection. He even suggested I'd need Emma's help after the baby arrived. I gave him the same answer, no. I didn't want or need Emma's involvement, and my husband and I had plenty of support from his family and our friends. If Emma and my parents could ignore me for 3 years, they could continue doing so. Emma's messages were different, hostile, and entitled. She called me selfish and claimed I owed her a role in my child's life. She even accused me of being heartless for shutting her out. I ignored her at first, but when her messages became relentless, I blocked her. My parents didn't give up. Days later, they called together, making one final plea. My mom said, Emma's been through so much. This baby could heal our family. I was stunned. My unborn child was being treated as a tool to fix Emma's pain. That was my breaking point. I told them I saw through their manipulation and warned that if they pushed again, I'd block them permanently, just like Emma. They tried to argue, but I hung up. The aftermath was an emotional roller coaster. I felt empowered for setting boundaries. Emma and my parents showed their true colors when they abandoned me on my wedding day, and they hadn't changed. They didn't deserve a place in my child's life. But I was also furious and heartbroken that they'd try to manipulate me again. They'd learned nothing. I'm now focusing on my pregnancy and staying positive. My husband has been my rock, and his family has enveloped me in love and support. They've reminded me that I owe nothing to Emma or my parents. This baby marks a new chapter for my husband and me, and I won't let toxic people taint it. For years, I tried to move on, but the full truth behind Emma's lies stayed unclear until a year after the wedding. My husband and I unexpectedly ran into Emma's ex-husband, whom we'll call Tom. What he revealed was shocking and clarified why Emma acted the way she did.